sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely. Always up for one of these.
All right, so today we're
What are we looking at today?
well, we're digging into that controversy surrounding the DOJ and
With the New York mayor.
yeah, Mayor Adams in New York City. Remember all those corruption charges against him?
Oh, yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah, well, it seems like the DOJ is trying to
What, drop the charges?
basically, yeah, they want to just dismiss the whole thing.
That's interesting.
And we're basing all this on a really fascinating article that came out just the other day, February 21st, from NPR.
NPR, okay. They always have good stuff.
Yeah, they do a great job. Anyway, it's a pretty wild story. Like, we're talking legal battles, political pressure. You know, the Trump administration seems to be using the Justice Department in some pretty unconventional ways.
Well, that's no surprise, is it?
I guess not, but it's definitely worth understanding what's happening here. So to set the scene, the DOJ wants to drop these corruption charges against Mayor Adams, and his legal team is totally on board with that. But there's a twist.
There's always a twist. What is it this time?
A federal judge, Dale Ho, is kind of pumping the brakes on the whole thing.
Oh, wow. That's not the usual response. I mean, usually a judge would just sign off on something like this if both sides agree.
Exactly. So that's what makes this case so interesting.
Yeah, there's got to be more to it.
Well, Judge Ho actually wrote in his order that he's concerned about the lack of what he calls adversarial arguments.
Adversarial arguments. You mean like a debate?
Yeah, exactly. He wants to see lawyers from both sides really laying out their strongest arguments, almost like a pro and con list, to make sure he has all the information before he makes a decision.
Makes sense. He wants to be sure it's a fair assessment of the situation.
Exactly. And get this, he even appointed a pretty high-profile conservative attorney, Paul Clement, specifically to challenge the DOJ's decision.
Oh, wow. So he's not messing around. That's a strong signal that he's really serious about digging into this.
Totally. So the big question is, why does the DOJ want to drop these charges in the first place?
Right. What's their reasoning?
Well, they're claiming that Mayor Adams has offered to help the Trump administration with their immigration policies. Specifically, they're saying he'll assist in rounding up undocumented migrants.
That's a pretty big deal and kind of raises a red flag, doesn't it? It sounds a little like...
A quid pro quo.
Yeah, like they're trading favors.
That's what a lot of people are saying. But the acting assistant attorney general, Emile Bove, insists that there's absolutely no quid pro quo going on.
I wonder how he squares that circle.
Well, hold on, because this is where it gets even weirder. He also said that, and I'm quoting here, this kind of arrangement would be legitimate if it advances President Trump's goals.
Whoa, hold on. So he's denying a quid pro quo, but saying a quid pro quo would be okay. That's some pretty slippery logic right there.
I know, right? It sounds like they want to have it both ways.
It really does. And unsurprisingly, that kind of statement has caused a huge uproar, especially in the legal world.
Yeah, it's caused quite a stir. 7 DOJ attorneys have actually resigned in protest.
Wow, 7. That's a pretty big statement in itself.
Definitely. And it doesn't stop there. A whole group of former federal prosecutors got together and filed what's called a legal brief, where they basically argued that this could set a really, really dangerous precedent.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a major concern if it starts to look like justice can be, bought and sold to benefit someone's political agenda, then the whole system kind of falls apart.
Right. The entire concept of an independent judiciary loses its meaning if these kinds of deals are allowed to happen.
Exactly. And that's not even getting into the implications for the balance of power. If the executive branch can basically use the DOJ to pressure local governments into falling in line with their policies, that's incredibly problematic.
Yeah, it undermines the whole idea of checks and balances. And what's interesting is that even Governor Hochul, she's expressed concerns about this too. She's worried that the Trump administration might be trying to coerce Mayor Adams.
Right. But she hasn't taken any action to remove him from office or anything like that. So it sounds like she's kind of waiting to see how things play out.
Yeah, it's a wait-and-see approach for now. So where do things go from here? What's the next step in this whole legal drama?
Well, Judge Ho has decided to extend his review of the case, citing its public importance, as he puts it.
Makes sense. This isn't just some minor legal squabble.
No, not at all. So we can expect a lot more legal filings from both sides, and there's a decent chance he'll call a hearing in the coming weeks, probably sometime in mid-March. This is definitely a story to keep an eye on.
So just to recap, we have a controversial deal on the table, a judge who's being super cautious, and the future of prosecutorial independence hanging in the balance.
It's a lot to unpack, and it really raises some fundamental questions about our legal and political systems, like what happens if this kind of deal becomes the norm? What does it mean for the relationship between the executive branch and the justice system going forward? And what kind of impact could this have on local governments all across the country?
Those are some really important questions to consider. and definitely something for everyone listening to think about.
Absolutely.
Thanks for breaking it all down for us.
Happy to do it.
All right, everyone, that's all for this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating look at current events. Until then, stay curious.
And keep asking those tough questions.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're bubbly.